Hello, my friends. This is Andy Falcon Man is coming to you live from Yorba Linda, California. Going live here on Instagram too. So if you're on Instagram, you may see a different look, but using two different cameras here to do the different broadcasts. But this is an important notice to all the parents of children who attend any of the Placentia Yorba Linda Unified School Districts. I just want you to know that we have a fairly new superintendent by the name of Kym LeBlanc-Esparza, who has just horribly failed her first test. And that has to do with this narrative that's being pushed about law enforcement here. Of course, in our communities, in the communities of PYLUSD, you got Yorba Linda, Fullerton, Brea, Placentia, and Anaheim that are in all of these different locations in our district. And the children are being fed a lie by her employees, which include teachers and other administrative people, about what's happening in regard to ICE and law enforcement in the community. And I notified her of the lies. I gave her facts about the lies. I gave her witnesses regarding the lies. And she simply just chose to say, no, I'm not doing anything about it. So I'm just going to go into a little bit more detail. And one of the lies, unfortunately, those of you on Instagram won't be able to see this, but there's this post that went out a while ago and had to do with this this made up kid out of El Dorado High School who was chased to his house. And then when they got a hold of him, they threw him on the ground and pointed guns at him. They called the gang unit, and then they took him to jail. So that was the story. I kind of paraphrased, of course. But as soon as I read that, I knew it was a lie because as a decades of being in law enforcement, I'm also an investigator. None of it made sense. None of it made sense. The idea that ICE was driving around town and saw a kid on a bicycle and began to chase him, that's ridiculous. That didn't happen. The fact that they called the gang unit, we're talking about ICE now. ICE wouldn't call the gang unit because law enforcement does that. So now you switch this narrative. Oh, you have to switch it over to local law enforcement. So local law enforcement isn't ICE. So if it was law enforcement that took this kid down for whatever reason, whatever crime he was committing, then that's a whole different narrative. You don't call ICE. And I'll explain why I explain that in just a second, because there's another story circulating in one of those cities here that is the same lie. It's just simply people that are lying and trying to create this fear and panic in kids. These are horrible, nasty, demonic, stupid people that are in our community that are doing this to our children and to families who may have just arrived here from other countries. They're doing it to also create fear in them. But back to this original thing. The last part of that is that he was taken to jail. So when somebody goes to jail, they are an adult. Kids aren't taken to Orange County Jail. And so the basis of this was meant to help cause people to believe that a student either on school campus or leaving school campus or on his way to school campus was chased, guns pointed at him, thrown to the ground for no reason is what they tried to say. But then they said that he went to jail. So this means he's an adult. Now in high school, you can be an adult. You can be 18 or 19 years old. And so that there is a possibility, but that narrows it down a great deal. But the other problem with that is that meant he committed a crime. If you went to Orange County Jail, the likelihood of him committing a infraction or misdemeanor are almost zero, because as an Anaheim police officer, I booked tons of people into Orange County Jail, and I believe all of them were felonies. There may have been one or two misdemeanors that, because of some other circumstances, we were able to get them booked into Orange County Jail. But it's usually they're cited out or taken to our city jail. Anaheim has its own city jail, so we would take somebody that's we believe was committed or have seen committed a crime or was placed under private person's arrest, because that's the requirements of a misdemeanor, that either somebody that saw the crime has to place him under private person's arrest. The police officer can't do it just based on somebody saying that this guy committed a misdemeanor. There has to be somebody willing to place him under misdemeanor arrest, or the police officer themselves has to see the crime being committed to arrest him for the misdemeanor. A felony can, if you have enough evidence, if somebody says, hey, this guy just robbed me, and now the person says, my necklace was taken and he had a gun, then if we stop the suspect that they pointed out or described and we catch him, and that guy has that necklace on him and a gun, for instance, then we can connect those two together. And now we don't need the private person or the victim to place him under private person's arrest. We can now arrest him on the suspicion that he committed the felony that we're about to arrest him for, because he had the evidence or he had the stolen items on him. And these are just examples that I'm telling you. So going back to our story, the fact that this adult was arrested and taken to Orange County Jail, that means that there's a lot more to the story. He was either a burglar, a carjacker, a robbery suspect of some sort, a whole number of other things, a rapist, who knows what he was arrested for. So they're looking for sympathy on this post, and they're looking to cause chaos. Now, Bonnie Conte, Esther Kim, these are community members. I don't know what even their relationship is to the school. I don't know if they have kids in the school. I don't even know. It's possible. I think Esther Kim might. Who knows? All we know is they are stupid, horrible, miserable women in our community who want to create a narrative and chaos because they hate so much. They're hateful human beings. They don't care that children are being scared by this made-up story that didn't happen. And now you're asking yourself, if you didn't see my last video, Andy, how do you know this? Well, I called the chief of police of Placentia PD, and I talked to Brad, and I said, did this happen? He goes, no, there's nothing like that happened. It's a made-up story. And then I sent Matt, and then I'm not going to tell you all the different stories, but I reached out to the other agencies just to see if maybe this happened somewhere else in Anaheim or Brea or Fullerton, and nobody can find this incident that occurred. Understand that any incident that a law enforcement officer is involved in gets logged in. If this guy got taken to jail, then of course there's radio traffic, there's a log entry, there is an affidavit that has to be filled out that it talks about why you stopped this person, what evidence do you have, and then how he committed the elements of each of the elements in the crime. You have to be able to say that each element of the crime was met, and that has to be included in the police report and the booking documents that go to Orange County Jail. So there's a lot of steps that has to go. Nobody can find anything like this that ever happened. So this is a lie. Now, the other thing is that teachers are also taking this lie and telling the kids, oh my God, ICE stopped one of your fellow students and threw him down to the ground and pointed a gun at him and took him to jail and called a gang unit and all this kind of stuff, when in fact, none of this happened. Nothing like this happened. I'm going to go to this other story that happened in Anaheim, and there's another video that went out about this adult being arrested, probably an adult. It could be a juvenile. I really actually don't even know. But either way, they put in the narrative that it was a 16-year-old kid who had his head beat against the curb and was bitten by a police dog. And they said it was ICE. ICE doesn't have police dogs. Border Patrol has dogs, but they usually keep them at the border because they're used for searching for humans and narcotics. I don't believe Border Patrol has police dogs that bite. Now, I'll have to look into that. I don't believe they do. I have a lot of cases that I'm involved in with Border Patrol, and none of them involve bite dogs. So you have this story that's going out, and it's got tens of thousands of views. It's a video of them arresting this guy and the police dog in the background of the police department that I used to work for. And I'm looking at that. I'm going, that's not ICE. I don't even know what they're talking about. But it obviously says ICE tackles a 16-year-old kid, beats his head against the curb, bites him with the police dog, and takes him to wherever they take him. That's not what that is. That's not a video of ICE. That's a video of an Anaheim Police Department taking down a suspect of a carjacking, a robbery suspect. A carjacking is a violent crime, regardless if it's a juvenile or an adult. And that's not ICE. And so you have these adults like Bonnie Conte, Esther Kim, you have teachers at PYLUSD, you have Jenny Bremer, who's a history teacher at El Dorado, putting out cards that telling kids to be in fear of ICE, all based on lies. None of these things are true. You have posts going out that are saying that are supposedly from kids saying, I'm afraid that the ICE are going to come in and take me out of my classroom and drag me off to jail and disappear me. And all these stupid comments. They're stupid not because kids are saying, they're stupid because these kids are being brainwashed by adults. Adults in our community like Bonnie Conte, Esther Kim, Jenny Bremer, and a number of others. And these are people that have just lost their minds, and they're affecting our children on a daily basis and in school, to the point where they're getting a group of kids, based on the encouragement of teachers in our schools, to protest, to leave school in the middle of their class, walk to the Placentia Police Department, whatever the police department has to do with this. I have no idea, because they're not ICE. But we have SROs from Placentia, and so I guess they're going over there to protest the SROs at Placentia PD. How great is that? And this is what they're doing. These adults, they're causing them to take these kids and brainwash them, put them in danger by leaving the school, walking the streets. And there's more danger than you know. And I'm going to hit that too, just to make sure you understand, because I want to make sure you understand why the superintendent, always forget her name, Esparza, failed. So you have these adults, you have these teachers, you have the employees of the PYLUSD pushing this nonsense to these schools. You got people like me and Leander Blades telling the superintendent, why are you allowing this to happen? And so I write her an email. I explain to her everything that I just told you, but in a little bit more detail, that I talked to the chief of police over at Placentia PD. He said nothing like this happened, and that all of it's a lie, that she has employees that are lying to the children and encouraging them to go out on these protests. And it took a couple of days to get a response, but I got a response, and she says, I'm not stopping them from doing their walkout. And I want kids to be able to exercise their First Amendment rights. And I had to really read my email just to make sure. And I said, where did I talk about not allowing children to have the right to speak out? I've never said that they couldn't speak out on something that was true. I guess they could even speak out about something that is false. I never said that they couldn't do that. That wasn't the point of my email. My email was that you have employees, Esparza, you failed superintendent, that your employees are poisoning the minds of children and causing them to be fearful and causing them to make decisions that are based on the lies that your employees are telling them. And what I asked her to do, as I said, you should, and I think I might have said must, it's possible, but I think it's a must also, that you must write a letter to your employees to tell them to stop lying to the children, and to say the story that's in social media, based on what you have learned, because she could also call the chief of police. I doubt that she did, because she doesn't want to hear the truth. If she heard the truth, then she would not be able to ignore it. And so she did. I didn't hear that wasn't true. I just heard this guy, this parent, this MAGA guy, that, as people call me. This has nothing to do with MAGA. This has nothing to do with Trump. This has nothing to do with anything. You have adults, stupid, miserable human beings that have nothing better to do, because their hatred for who, I don't know. Could it be they hate Leander that much? Could it be they hate Todd that much? Could they hate me that much, that they are willing to lie to children to put them in danger? How sick do you have to be? How have you ever been so mad at somebody else that you punish their children and lied to them, put them in danger? Who does that? Miserable human beings do. That's exactly what they're doing. Their anger is so much of whatever, and I don't care what it is. So much hatred and anger that they are now pushing children lies, so that they'll make bad decisions and possibly get hurt or killed. But they don't care. We told them this before. We told them this during the shutdown. Do not shut down the schools because it's going to harm children. We don't care. Don't put masks on their face because it's going to harm children in their education. They didn't care. This vaccine that they didn't need because it wasn't killing children, but we thought and heard, based on some of the science that was coming out, that it may be harmful for children. They didn't care. And now we have it again. We have them pushing lies directly on their social media that they're in charge of. PYLUSD is ran by teachers, we believe. Most of them are teachers. We believe Bonnie Conte may be involved in there, and Esther Kim and some other people may be involved in PYLUSD Facebook group. But they don't care. Why are mothers, so-called mothers, Yoruba Linda moms, why are mothers pushing out lies to cause anxiety and angst and fear in children when it's all a lie? They're also saying that ICE is going on to school campuses and dragging kids out of the classrooms and arresting them. That has not happened anywhere in the United States. Not one place. There's one incident in Minnesota where they chased a guy who went onto the school property, got as far as the parking lot. They tackled him and arrested a violent criminal suspect. And what did you want them to do? Did you want them to not catch that man and allow him to go in the classrooms and take hostages? Is that what you wanted? Is that what you would have preferred? But instead they turned around and say these ICE agents went on school campuses and arrested somebody. They chased them onto the school campus and stopped them from getting onto the school premises and stopped them from getting into the campus. You fools. Superintendent Esparza was given all this information. I told her she needs to also write a letter district-wide to all the parents and say, I've seen these posts, as I've investigated them. They are not true. I understand that I have teachers that are putting out this information. They will be dealt with for lying to your children. And she refused. And what she based it on is she goes, because I'm not going to stop the children from exercising their First Amendment rights. I said nothing about their First Amendment rights. I said nothing about stopping them from protesting. I said for the protection of the children and their families, the truth needs to be put out there. Because somebody has to stop this. Some leader has to stop this. We have myself and we have Leandra. We have parents that are not showing up at school board meetings that see this happening. I get it all the time. I get parents stop me all the time. Hey, I appreciate what you're doing. I get people send me messages. I get screenshots from Yoruba Linda moms. I get screenshots from Placentia Buzz. I get screenshots. I get all kinds of stuff from parents, people that I don't even know who they are. They saw me at Stater Brothers, at Walmart, at Home Depot, at events, at sports events, and they say, "Hey, I really appreciate what you do," and then I don't see them at the school board meetings, or they say, or I have teachers that come to me, a lot of teachers, not just one or two. I've had a lot of teachers come to me and say, I really appreciate what you're trying to do and what you are doing and the impact that you're making, and then they say, "But I could never do that." I actually sometimes want to scream in their face, but I'm not a liberal and I don't, but I want to. I want to say, why? Your job's more important than the children in our community. Your job's more important than your children. Your job's more important than your grandchildren. Your friendships, the people that you associate with on Facebook, that those people are far more important to you than speaking out about the stupidity of saying that you should allow your children to cut off their penis or their breasts. That stupidity. I just don't understand why, and I'm asking, and I am angry. And I know that I come off a little bit harsh, but at some point you got to say, you know what, I got to go to that school board meeting and I got to say, I'm no longer afraid of what they're going to say to me. I'm no longer afraid of what they're going to put in a comment on social media. I'm no longer afraid that my boss is going to fire me. Let him fire me for something where I am protecting my kids. I am protecting the truth and facts and I'm protecting law enforcement who are out there doing a job that none of them would do in 100 years. I'm just so tired of people knowing what is going on is wrong and not standing up and doing anything about it. You got the superintendent who just got the job, obviously, and she's too afraid. She's too afraid to put out a letter and say, you know what? I understand you're marching. If you want to march, that's your First Amendment right. If you want to do that, that's fine. But just understand what you're marching against is based on a lie. The resolution that Leander Blades wants to bring to the school board meeting, what they're saying about it is a lie. It is mandated by the state. And in addition to that, it doesn't say anything about, I guess in her words, they believe they want to say that in her words, she's saying and then the resolution also means that I want ICE to go in there and snatch children up and arrest them and kidnap them and disappear them. It says nothing like that. It's supporting law enforcement. It's communicating with law enforcement. It's making sure they have a relationship. So then when somebody is on campus that is a danger to the children and the teachers, that law enforcement notifies the school and the school cooperates what needs to be done to protect children. You really believe, I just want to ask you, the adults out there that don't know, or that just aren't paying attention or aren't thinking common sense wise. Did you really think the police, the law enforcement, the people that have kids in our own schools, police officers, there's tons of police officers that have kids in our schools, that they're gonna actually come on campus, kick down a door of a classroom and begin to arrest children in there that are brown or black or yellow or whatever color that you want to make them? You think that that's what our police are going to do, so you don't believe that, but you think Leander Blades is putting in a resolution that says, hey, I want police to go in and do these things that I just said. I just want you to think common sense and critically think through all this stuff. Number one, ICE has not and never and probably never will, for any reason, come onto any one of the PYLUSD school campuses and take one of your children out of the school. Because it hasn't happened, it's not happening, and it's not going to happen. These incidents that you're seeing on social media are lies. Those things, one of them did not happen. One incident happened, but it wasn't what they told you. It was a carjacking suspect who was taken down, who resisted arrest, and was contacted by Anaheim Police Department and tackled to the ground because he was resisting. I just don't understand these adults. How did they get broken? These are broken, miserable people that so many of you are following. So many of you are calling friends. It's time for you to call them out and say, I've had it with your nonsense. You've done this for at least 6 years. I've seen these names, these people for 6 years. Lie, and then lie again, and lie even more out of hate. They make up stories. They follow me to church and serve me with nonsensical papers. They write letters about Leander Blades full of lies, and they send them to houses. These are grown adults, mind you. You would think these are children. You would think Bonnie Conte is a 12-year-old girl. Or Esther Kim, or her little partner. They're in a tree and they're writing these letters. They're little crazy people. And I know I shouldn't call people names, but I don't know what else to call them. What else do you call people? Grown adults who are making up a story, put it on a post, and feed it out through PYO Buzz and Yorba Linda Mom, a group called Yorba Linda Moms, no less, to cause anxiety and fear in children so that they will go out in the street and act like fools based on a lie, saying things that are based on a lie that they created. And now Bonnie Conte and Esther Kim and all the others, Jenny Bremer and who else, I can't think of all the names off the top of my head, are cheering it on and saying, oh, yay, look what I did. Look, I got all these kids. The problem with that is there are actual reports that there are plans that at one of these high school walkouts that there's going to be a mass casualty event. And again, your superintendent, Esparza, knows this. And I warned her. And I want all your parents out there to know that at any of these walkouts, if any of your kids even stubs his toe walking up a curb, that I would sue if I were you, because she did nothing to alert the kids about the lie that's causing them the fear and anxiety and this decision and desire to walk out merely because maybe they don't want to be in class. They're giving them a window or giving them an opportunity to leave class because simply they don't want to be in class. And that's, you know, that's happening. My children have one in elementary school, junior high, and high school. And every one of them have told me that they're hearing about these walkouts and they laugh because they say their Mexican friend or their Guatemalan friend or their black friend is going, I don't even know what they're talking about, but I'm going to leave. I'm going to go. We laugh at all this stuff. And then none of this matters to them, but they're walking out simply because they want to get out of class. And here you have Bonnie Conte and Esther Kim, who run these stupid groups, these miserable people, a group of miserable people that love that they're able to impact your kids, and you are not doing anything about it. My 12-year-old doesn't even have a phone. My junior higher, he has it every so often. But the reason why is because you have crazy people like Bonnie Conte and Esther Kim out there. I don't give them phones. They're not allowed to have a smartphone. So I make those decisions because I don't want them to make bad decisions. I talk to them about all the stuff that's going on. Make sure they understand it fully. We go over the statistics. I tell them about my discussion with the chief of police. I educate them. I'm involved. If you see any of my kids on those walkouts, you tell me that one of my kids, I will take them out. And you know what I mean? I will take away something, take away their cars. You will not find my kids out there, but if you do, let me know. But I trust that they will not do that. You know, I had these parents. This is my last thing. I'm going to do one more rant really quick. I had, many of you probably had friends that, their parents would say, you can drink as long as you drink at home. And I even as a kid, I was going, wait, what? I go, my parents would kill me. And I go, wait, your parents allow you to drink? And so this is what we're dealing with. We have parents that just say, yeah, you can go out there and protest. But are they aware that there are reports, credible reports, that there's going to be a mass casualty event at one of the high school walkouts? Do they know that? Or do you just learn hearing this for the first time? I think that's wild. Did they hear that the lie about this kid who was chased on his bicycle by ICE and then tackled and taken orange? Did they hear that was a lie? Would you not, as a parent, go, hey, dummy, you're not going to walk out because this is stupid, because you're doing something that's not true. It's not based on fact. This thing in Anaheim that you just saw on Instagram, that wasn't ICE. That was Anaheim police arresting a felony suspect who had just committed a felonious crime where he threatened to kill somebody. That's much different than ICE tackling a 16-year-old and banging his head against the curb, which again, it didn't happen. So it's gone much longer, of course, as usual than before, but this will not be the last video. I don't know what else to do. I speak out at school board meetings. I talk to people at our church. I talk to people when I have the opportunity to speak them out in the community. And of course, I educate my kids. I educate their friends. We have 10, 15 kids at our house all the time. And we talk about all these things. I ask them all the time, hey, did you hear about the walk? Oh, yeah. They just laugh and say that's one of the stupid things I ever heard. And we're talking about Hispanic kids, Latino kids, Asian kids, Indian kids, Black kids. I have them all. Yes, I have every race at my house. My wife is Persian. My other daughter's half Arabic. My oldest daughter and I are both Mexican Latinos. My other kids are half Latino and half whatever, Irish. Nobody cares. You fools, Bonnie Conte and Esther Kim. You are just miserable, horrible people. And I can't say enough. By the way, they've already kicked out other moms who don't agree with them. I'm meeting more Yorba Linda moms lately because of their nonsense, because of them being kicked out. And it's laughable that Bonnie Conte says all this stuff and then goes and kicks people out of her. She doesn't believe in kicking people out of the country for real crimes, but a mom who speaks the truth in Yorba Linda Friends, she kicks out. So I want you to make that make sense to me. And I will repeat that just so it makes sense. So you have illegal aliens committing crimes. Understand that if you come across after being kicked out of the United States, if you come back, now that's a felony. The first time is a misdemeanor, the second time is a felony. Understand that. And then they come over and you have many of them who are committing crimes. So Bonnie Conte, Esther Kim, Jenny Bremer, apparently the Superintendent Esparza, believe that, no, they can stay. Those people we want in our community. We want the criminals. We want murderers, rapists, child molesters. We want them to stay. But Bonnie Conte and Esther Kim, if you just simply are friends with Leander Blades or Andy Falco Jimenez, if you even like one of their videos or like one of their posts, you're out of here, and they kick you out. Okay, are you as shocked as I am? Is it unbelievable? This is unbelievable. But yeah, that's all I have to say. Again, I could go on because this just drives me crazy. And it's even worse when I see a superintendent who's not willing to be a leader and stand up. She wrote something about, I should read the email she sent one of these days, but said something about, well, as a leader, I'm not going to go against their First Amendment rights. I said nothing about their First Amendment rights, and you're the opposite of a leader. This is the opposite of what a leader does. A leader does things that may not be popular. A leader does things that are correct, based on fact, and that are right, and for protection of the people that she's in charge of. And it just so happens, Esparza, you're in charge of children, and you failed to protect them. You are lucky, very lucky, that nobody got hurt during that walkout the other day. You're so lucky, because a lawsuit would have been fast and harsh. And, you just need to remember that. All right, my friends. I love you guys. God bless. Share this out to your friends. Just talk to each other. We got a school board meeting coming up on Tuesday. You got to show up. I just want some of you who have told me that you appreciate this, that you appreciate Leandra. I hear from tons of you. It's got to be in the hundreds by now. And only 10 people show up to the school board meetings. If all of you that just simply told me or Leandra how much you appreciate what it is that we do or that we're saying, that she does a lot more because she's out there, on the firing line of the school board meetings. If every one of you who just simply told us that, sent us some text message or emailed us or stopped me or her or whatever, if every one of you did that, they'd have to get the seats out in the parking lot. But this has gone too far. This is enough. This is enough of the Bonnie Contes and Esther Kims. This is enough of them. And Jenny Bremers. So please go to the school board meeting on Tuesday, speak out about this, tell the superintendent to resign, get another job, do something else that doesn't around children, because obviously she's not interested in protecting children or teachers. And let's move on. Let's move on and go back to educating the kids, teaching how to read, write, count, and think. All right, my friends, that's it for sure. I'm getting off right now. Take care. Bye.